You ever nick my job again, I'm gonna stab you. And I'm not joking. I'm like, all right.
That's crazy.
Welcome to the trade.
Listen, I put my hands up. I realise I'm not your average, all right? I realise that. That doesn't mean
One of a
anything
kind.
other
You're
than...
pretty average.
Well, you know what I mean. I'm not, I'm not your average cabbie.
See the shard sticking up behind the church steeple? Look, you see you've got the old and the new. I always think that shard is a danger to skydivers. I just imagine if you... Do you know what I mean?
The poem, the amazing poem that we're gonna write, or story or whatever it turns into. Like, do you hear it? Do you see it any certain way? Like, do you want anything from it?
No, I don't want anything from it. No, I think I'm just interested to see where it goes.
I think in terms of the poem and the poetry we want to touch on, I think it's going to be very like stream of consciousness, and like it's going to draw on like all of these different things that we've spoken about. And Adam wants to perform as well, don't you? You want to?
Well, I could be pushed into it. I just say I want to.
Yeah, we're gonna have a great time.
What's the process of becoming a taxi driver?
Oh, now you're asking. So when little Dwayne decided he wants to be a cab driver, goes and applies to the TfL, and they basically give him a list of schools to go to, knowledge schools, and they give you what's called the Blue Book. The Blue Book has about 320 runs, and they're basically, you have to learn them front and back. Those routes form a network like that, and at each end of that route you've got like a circle, quarter-mile radius. You have to learn everything in there. So no left turn, no right turns, maybe no U-turns. In this area it might be the Apple store, which is a common destination. You have to learn all the street names, all the major buildings and all of that kind of stuff.
The black cab driving, you obviously have to pass the knowledge, which can take people years to do. My dad did it in 6 months, just memorised the entire London map. And he made sure that my mum would learn how to drive. And nowadays it's quite common for South Asian Muslim women to drive in the UK, but back in the day, back in the 80s, she was one of the only women at the mosque who would drive.
Let me tell you one thing. The reason I did the knowledge was because my husband did the knowledge, not in his language, not in his city, not in his fucking alphabet, you know? I was blown away by what he achieved. And I was like, who am I to think I can't achieve this when he's done that? It was the hardest thing I've ever done. And so he was my inspiration, yeah, 100%. My husband was my inspiration. 75% of people who start the knowledge give up.
Really?
You cannot fail the knowledge. It can take you 10 years.
How long did it take you?
3 years, 10 months. 3 years, 10 months.
If they were to integrate some kind of map, app or whatnot,
Yeah.
that would like change at least the feeling of what this cab represents.
I think it would. Yeah, I think it would. I think the knowledge is, I think a lot of the guys are proud that they passed it, you know?
Yeah,
It's such a struggle.
yeah.
They're talking about simplifying it, but they've been talking about that for years.
Yeah.
But they might actually end up doing it because there's a shortage of drivers at the moment.
Okay.
There's
so they're
like
trying to make it easier.
Yeah, after Brexit and the pandemic,
Yeah.
there's about 15 to 20% less drivers, and that's why you'll see as we're driving around, there's going to be a lot of people with their hands up. It's good for me, but only in the short term, because the
Yeah.
government will just look at ways to fill that gap, and generally that's going to be Bolt or Uber or whatever.
Yeah,
They're going to
yeah.
fill that gap.
How times have changed, you know, Uber's here now, apps are here now, people don't really talk to cabbies as much as they used to, everyone's just on their phone. I remember Adam was telling me that you could put the partition down back in the day, and you can actually hear what other people had to say and have like really meaningful conversations with them, but the partition doesn't go down anymore, it kind of stays up, and I found that to be quite like metaphorical.
You could open this right up. There was a stick, and you weren't allowed to take it. It's called the stop stick. It was just a rod, and you weren't allowed to take it out, but you could take it out and then slide the thing right back. And one of my techniques for waking up drunk people was I'd take the stick out and give them a bit of a poke. That's not carriage office approved.
I'm trying to get a sense of the relationship that
like Rachel has between people that come in, and sometimes it sounds like you guys have like incredibly deep like life conversations, and sometimes it sounds like you have incredibly light, fun conversations. There's a relationship there, and I'm trying to get a sense of what that relationship is.
But it's
given
gone
that,
in a second.
Well, exactly, right? It's
but
like,
that's the thing, right? I remember them because they're all amazing people. But that's what's so amazing.
Yeah.
Is I'm having all of these incredible 10 minutes of someone's time and their life, and I'm giving them mine. I'm giving to them as well,
absolutely.
you know, like if they want. I mean, but it is my time, of course it is. What makes it all safety is that it's kind of throwaway.
yeah.
I think.
And I think that's what I find fascinating is like a throwaway intimacy.
I've had some people where where I'm dropping them off, and he's like, look, I hope you don't mind, I know I'm taking your time. So I do that, I turn. Yeah, go on then. And we're sitting and now we're having a chat, and you know, all kinds of,
Yeah.
you know, because you can't leave them at that moment, because actually they really need to,
Have this
they
moment.
need to finish it. Yeah.
Were you like, have you always been a social person, or like, how did the job change you?
So when I got in the taxi, what I realised was it was like my hearing changed. It was like I'd gone from like 60% up to 100%, and I was having these conversations, which obviously you're having, where you're listening, and I'm like, wow, I'm finding out stuff here that I should have been finding out a long time ago by actually just listening to people, and that was the first change I noticed.
I've got one really amazing story.
the first
I've
that
got
comes to your
one
head?
really amazing story, right? So I've got a girl on board and I'm dropping her off up at Maida Vale.
Uh-huh.
I'm cutting through the back streets and there on the right-hand side I see this guy, and I thought, in my mind, I've noticed him because I think, oh, he looks like he's just come out of a festival or something. You know, he didn't look like, he just, anyway, that was it. And he's trying to hail me, and I'm like, I've got someone on board, so I've ignored him. Anyway, I've dropped her off and I'm heading back through. Fuck me, I see him again. So I pull over and I pick him up. And he went, oh, well, what music are you into then? I said, you've probably not heard Lee Scratch Perry. You know, he's my absolute, this man was still alive, rest in peace. And he quoted me a whole heap of Lee Scratch Perry lyrics, which is quite unusual,
back to back,
right?
yeah.
It's quite unusual. So that already I'm quite interested in this guy now. And I went, well, you know, that's amazing. Right? Then he said to me, 24th of May, just out like that, 24th of May. And I'm like, it's my birthday.
What?
It's my birthday. And I'm looking round and I'm thinking, is there anything here? And I went, that's my birthday. He said, yes, I know.
What?
Right, now get this. He said, I said, oh, that's interesting. He said, yeah. He said, people don't understand me. He said, people just don't get me. He said, actually, I've just escaped from a mental institution.
Wow, yeah.
He starts speaking to me in Hebrew. Well,
Hebrew?
My husband is from Israel, and so therefore I understand a bit of Hebrew. And this is all like this is all like, and I'm driving, all this while I'm driving thinking, this is crazy,
also,
but this
like,
guy, but I feel okay, this guy's nice, you know? And then he wants dropping off, and in my head I'm thinking, I'm not going to charge him, like the geezer's just escaped from mental institution, give the guy a break.
Absolutely.
And he said, don't worry, I've got enough money to pay. So that was the journey.
Amazing.
So he gets out, I pull around the corner and I stop, right? Because then it hits me. Wow, what just happened there? That was really incredible. But he was a really amazing guy. But these things he's told me, how can that be, right? So then I've told my mate, she's a cabbie, I've told my mate, and about 20 minutes later, she's rung me up and she went, you ain't gonna believe this. I said, what? She said, I was just telling my passenger, and my passenger's birthday is 24th of May, right? And he said, it's because your friend is open that these things happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're not open,
Then you
these
don't
things
notice
don't
them.
happen. So that is one story I've never forgotten, because that was such an unusual day.
I got these two bruises in the back. We stop and I'm like, right, what's my scenario here? Because I've got these guys, they've obviously, how they not had a drink, right? So I locked the doors. We're going out and pay you. I said, listen, they go to get the door. What are you locked the doors for? And I'm like, listen, guys, we're going to get out of the cab, I'm going to ruin this cab for you. We're going to, and I'm like, listen, guys, I said, I'm doing a job here, wife, kids, I've got you got over 100 quid on the meter. You two guys are in the middle of nowhere. We've been driving for an hour and a bit. I need to know that I'm going to get paid. So what am I going to do? What choice do I have? So I played it that way. Now you're a decent fella. Come and give you I'll come around, he starts pulling out his cash, comes round. Will you do it for 100 quid? I said, bloody right I will, because I thought I was getting nothing.
Is that an electric? I didn't realise they did electric cabs. Is this electric?
Of course it is.
Is it? I thought it was...
How do you think it's so quiet?
I don't know. I just thought it was super insulated. Does that mean you've got an electric charging point? What's that like to set up? Isn't that...
I have to just pay lots of fucking money.
Am I being really dense? Is this electric or diesel, Adam?
No, this is diesel.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
This is one of the old ones.
Yeah, because I was going to say, it's quite like, it rocks me a little bit. You can hear it like revving and stuff.
The costings are astronomical though. I mean, when I gave the taxi up, I was paying £200 a week for a rent, and this was for an old one like this, and now this is 260 a week. I'm just trying to keep all the plates spinning so I've got I can make a move when I decide what to do. But the thing is, having experienced that COVID thing, when it all went bang like that, and all of a sudden you just couldn't earn anything, and the taxi was my only vehicle and I lost it. It's so fresh in my mind going through all that I just... Taxi drivers say, why you still work for Sainsbury's? It's all right again now. I said, yeah. I said, you do it as long as I've done it, and it can change. It can change.
I love being a black cab driver for so many reasons. Number one, because, it's a respected trade. People know how hard we've worked to get it. Number two, as a female driver, I'm treated exactly the same. No one can treat me any different. I've done exactly the same training. My meter's the same, I'm paid the same. Do you know what I mean? There's none of this glass ceiling, excuse the pun. There's something about saying, about being a woman, that I am just a woman, right? Who does everything that a woman should be able to do. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just doing, which is what every woman should be just doing and feel like they can just do. And again, big up Rooney Martin, big up Ronnie Martin. There's not, this isn't, it's nothing special. I'm just a woman who does everything, whatever.
So I have to ask this question. I got about 1,000 black people behind me that want to know this question as well. Black cabs don't stop for black people. Is that true?
It's changed.
Okay.
Up until very recently, maybe the last decade, that is slowly starting to change. I've seen it in front of me. I've seen it on a rank in the Strand, and there was a black businessman, and he wanted to go to Australia House, which isn't far, but it's not a quick walk. He said, "Oh, you can walk that. I'm not taking you."
Wow.
So that means that I'm taking him, but I'm happy to take him because that's the job.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it's as prevalent now because luckily we've got a higher minority in the trade. One examiner who took it upon himself started a school. That meant that he was, instantly going to try and attract more young African, Jamaican, Trinidad, young black men into the trade. Not just young, just black men, full stop, or women, And then you would see a lot more of a lot more representation in black cabs.
That's brilliant. Thank
Yeah.
you so much, guys.
Done.
No,
For having
it's been a
me.
pleasure.
Oh, no,
It's
we've
been a
had a
pleasure.
good time. Thank you.
Also, thanks for the excuse for giving us an excuse to hang out. You know, it's great. Suits me.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to On the Cotton! It is so good to see so many of you here at the Guitar Social this evening for my, what I thought, very niche project of bringing poets and cab drivers together. My name is Dan Simpson. I'll be your host for tonight. This project came from basically my dad being a black cab driver. I was always fascinated by him learning the trade when I was growing up, learning the knowledge and being a cabbie. A lot of people think poetry, intellectual, elite. No, poetry, like in its origins, was us around a campfire telling each other stories, telling each other our histories. It is a spoken word oral tradition. Rachel, one of our cab drivers, I called them knowledge boys earlier, and she went, knowledge girls. Knowledge. Yeah.
Thank you. So, knowledge girl. 5% female drivers out there, 5% and rising. Roundabout, we're going to leave by Great Dover Street. Left, Borough High Street. Forward, London Bridge. We're going to sit down at the Barrow Boy.
Are we too busy for poetry? The stitches in my wallet tighten and measure my life by the meter. I've seen you before. Singing Lee Scratch, skipping business calls. You wear a different face this time, but you haven't really changed on your way to the courthouse. But where does it all go once the fare is paid? And the passenger is gone. And the cab is empty of even their smell. On to the next. And both of us, too busy for poetry. Yes.
So being able to drive around for hours with Adam really meant a lot to me, because it kind of helped me kind of fantasize about what the cab would be like with my dad. Yeah, thank you all for listening and lending us your ears. Yeah.
I drive an old black London taxi, but I don't know where I'm going. Spiritually, that is. Never have.
Snaking through the underbelly of smoke, we move in the shadows as buildings are set ablaze by the sun and shoddy cladding.
Plastic Jesus stares back at me sadly. Bumble lifeless on the tiny abalone base by his feet. And I know Jesus doesn't want me for a sunbeam. He never has. And I'm still not feeling it.
Seedy underground toilets for the gents, now replaced with seedy underground massage parlours. Us drunk poets dig their fingers deep into the mulch and germinate our best ideas.
Adam and Kareen, everybody. Next up onto the stage, we're going to welcome Dwayne and Benna. Please give it up for Dwayne.
This is the irony that always surprises me. Black cabs never stop for black people.
You getting in?
Shit. Yeah.
Whenever you're ready.
I always thought black cabs were for the haves and have yachts, tailor-made suits, top hats, laptops. Now put it on my tab and we don't take cash spots in the city of LON-DON. You know what pisses me off? Those drivers. Those drivers. And let me know when a little speed will kick in. Time is money and that meter is ticking. I thought we would have been there sooner. Should have got Uber.
Should have got what?
Nah, I said I should have got a Suva. It's been a wild night.
I mean, in a sense, we both connect with people.
Yeah, and honestly, it's changing me. Especially as I've been talking with more men recently, and it's shaping me in ways I never thought. Like, cause, man to man, I feel like my life and even the world is just giving no one any room to like.
By the way, this is you.
Oh, wow, so soon. All right, have a good one.
Same to you.
Cheers.
Bilal. Take the cab home. There might be a few knocking around at the end of the gig. So we have a few drivers here who'll be willing to take you as a fare. Take black cabs. Quite frankly, take that black cabs when you can and when you can afford it. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Amazing. Thank you so much.